Hi everybody, Andy here again. Well, I'm laying down on the beach this time, and appropriately enough actually, because whilst I was on holiday, one of the things that I noticed was the night sky, hence the title of this video, Starry, Starry Night. I remember when I were a lad, that light pollution, as we now call it, didn't really exist unless you lived in a big city, or even in a big town, I suppose. But over the past, maybe it's the past 10, 20 years or so, the night sky has really changed as to what you can see, and I don't think like so many of these things, they creep up on you, you don't really realise them until you go on holiday or something, and then seeing it in a place where I was staying at sort of a 10-minute walk from the main part of town, so you can see a little bit of light pollution from there, but in like a valley between hills or mountains, so there's not really a lot around, there's not too much light around, and it's only when the stars come out and you think, wow, and I spent a couple of evenings sitting out there by the pool on the chairs, sort of more or less staring straight up into space, literally, and to the stars, and looking at all these stars that I hadn't seen for years. It made me think of a couple of songs as well, obviously the Starry, Starry Night being the first line from the Don McLean song, Vincent. But there's a great song by Billy Bragg called The New England. And there's the line in there, so I saw two shooting stars last night, I wished on them, but they were only satellites. And I had that experience myself actually, because one thing I noticed, there was a meteor shower some time ago, last month, called the Perseids, that comes out of the constellation known as Perseus, which is in the northern hemisphere. So if you're in the southern hemisphere, you probably won't ever see it. It was dying down, but I happened to notice, I thought, I might actually see some. And I actually saw one amazing shooting star, meteor, or call it whatever you want, from that area. One of the most amazing I've ever seen, and I would never have seen that here. And that was one of the things I remember reading about the Perseids meteor shower, as I have done in years previous, because it's like an annual event. And I've never been able to see it. It's too cloudy for a start. I mean, that's one of the reasons that astronomy in this part of the world isn't that great. You've got the inevitable cloud cover when anything is around of interest, really. And also the fact that you just can't see them because of the light pollution. I'm fairly lucky here living by the coast, I suppose, that out to sea you don't really get, obviously, a lot of light pollution, so you've got one direction where you can look out over the sea, and it's generally pretty good. Yes, there's some problem, but not as bad as it is in a major city or town or something like that. But just laying there watching these, and I did actually see a couple of satellites going across, whether it was the International Space Station, it may well have been. But it was such a joy, really, to be able to do that. Something I've always had an interest in, astronomy, space, and all those type of things. But it's one of those things that tends to wane, partly because of what happens now, and maybe that happens in other spheres as well. You know, your old hobbies, your old interests from when you were a child, or even as a young adult or whatever, they wane, and that's partly, possibly, because you just can't pursue them anymore in the way that you used to be able to. For my reasons there with the astronomy, and anyone else who's into that, you just can't see the night sky unless you happen to be lucky enough to live in a particular area. I'd love to go back during the winter, during those nice crisp sort of winter or autumn nights, and obviously it gets colder over there, and it's generally clear as well, and that would be great, just to lay there and just look at the night sky. And if it's anything like what it was the other day with the planets that I could see there, it was pretty amazing. So love to hear where you come from, what it's like where you are, and whether you've suffered this as well. But a real joy to see that. Another reason to go back, maybe. And actually, I hadn't really noticed it before, so maybe I should lay on my back a bit more. Anyway, I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.